Morning, everyone, and welcome to the first session of the Learning Innovation Speaker Series, where we'll be exploring the latest innovations in education and education technology. And today we'll be looking at two AI-enabled technologies in Quadc and Allo. So that's for both of our speakers. If you can hold your questions to the end. So if you have questions about the functions or the limitations or the possibilities or even the deployment of these technologies, hold them until the end of each presentation, and then we can use the chat. Or if you just raise your hand, we'll recognize you and we'll get your questions answered. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Joe Sample from Quadc.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thank you all for having us today. So my name's Joe. We've been engaged with the CDA for just over a year now. So I've been working closely with Bill Rayler and Captain Zach Ransom on that team. My colleague Emily is also there out there quietly taking notes. But for the sake of time, I'll kind of jump right into things today. So I'll share my screen with you here. And we'll jump right in. So we work for a company called Quadc. Again, we've been engaged with the CDA for just over a year now, but we've been working in higher ed for about 7 or 8 years now, with the last 3 years or so being focused almost exclusively around AI. So some of you may know us, some of you may not. So just to give you an idea of who we are, we're a proudly Canadian company. We work with a number of schools across North America, many of which being in Ontario. So you'll see a couple of familiar names here. I was actually just at SciCan last week, and there was a lot of those colleges there, the SciCan conference, as well as a lot of the D&D folks. So I'm hoping this is very timely for you all. So again, working with CEA more recently, we've also been engaged with the CAF Health Services team, as well as the Non-Commissioned Leadership College. So we would love to work with the rest of you as well. If you do like what you see today, feel free to reach out to Captain Ransom. He can connect you with my team. We could set you up with a sandbox, get you playing around with the tool, and see if there's any ways we can support you as well. But I'll jump right into it. Again, for the sake of time, I'll keep this pretty simple for today. I'll walk you through a demo, but really walk you through the work we've already been doing, some of the features and tools we've already built for CDA. And then I'll show you in the last few minutes there a few cool things that are coming down our future pipeline. So I'll jump out and I'll flip to our interface, which you should all be able to see here. So I won't go through everything in detail. Again, we've been using this with colleges and universities for a few years now. So you'll notice we can create lesson plans and tests. Those are built primarily for higher ed institutions. We've embedded all of the different LLMs into our platform. We've given it a few other bells and whistles like teaching styles, but really at the base of all of this is it's really us just plugging into your materials and you being able to define the behavior of the AI for different purposes. So I'll actually go to the Trusted Serve Ethos bot here. And this is really just to show you, you're going to see some chatbots spaced throughout the tools we've created. So this is just to show you that you have full control over how these are created. You can control how they respond to staff and to learners, as well as the materials that it's pulling from. So I can define the behavior of these bots. Some of you may have seen this functionality already. And then I can simply decide where they're pulling from. We can also do a few other things here, like we've got interactive avatars. Again, for the sake of time, I won't actually talk to this avatar, but this is just to show you it's higher levels of accessibility. You can use these bots and avatars as sounding boards. So as you're refining your courses and your teaching materials, you can bounce ideas off of them, which will just help you use your time more effectively and ideally save you time. So the first thing that we've built for CDA is what you're seeing here. And it's really creating lesson plans through the qualification standard framework. So really, I can do that in a couple different ways here. If I hit new course, I can either design it from scratch, which gives me basically just the fields in order to pop in my POs, my EOs, and my teaching points. Or I can actually generate it from documents. So I can take a qualification standard, I can upload it, which is what I've done here, and it's going to extract those POs and EOs for you. to which you can then come in afterwards and you can edit them to your liking. So we've gotten it pretty accurate at this point, but again, if you just want to change the language slightly, if you want to, change any of the headers, you can come in here and you can edit this before using this teaching plan. I can also view any of the actual teaching points here, and I can edit it in more detail. If this pops up for me. Second here. But the idea is that it's going to take all the materials, it's going to extract all of the points, it'll create modules for you, it'll create sections for you. My internet's giving me a little bit of trouble here, but again, you have full editing capabilities before actually using those teaching plans. So maybe I'll jump back here. And this is really the value is pretty simple, just to save your team time on cutting and pasting these when creating these teaching plans. As I mentioned, you're going to have the chat here on the right-hand side, so at any point I can bounce ideas off of this. And again, these chatbots aren't just generic bots, they're already plugged into your materials, so it's making recommendations and helping you refine those materials through the scope of your actual documents and materials. And I can also switch between engines if I choose. Now we've also applied this to the student side as well. So in the bottom left here, if I flip to the Learn side, I'll go to that same CDA tab. And the idea is that as students are going, or as learners are going through courses, I'll be able to find the courses that I've gone through. I'll be able to click into these, and I'll be able to see the individual EOs and POs and teaching points. I think it's giving me a little bit of trouble just because I'm sharing my screen with so many folks. But the idea is that I can then come in here after a lesson. Maybe I went through a lesson and I understood 80 or 90% of it, but there was a few points that I really struggled with. Rather than kind of sifting through that and having to maybe go through the entire course, this is simply letting me drill down on individual teaching points, individual objectives, viewing those, and then talking to the AI to really reinforce that knowledge. So again, it's really just helping both the learner and the instructor use their time more effectively. I can use this as a first touch. I can talk to the AI. I can really drill down on the points that I specifically struggled with, so that when I am meeting with someone in person, that time is just a little bit more focused. The second piece here is our guided course. So this is really the ability to create long-winded courses, also based off of your own materials. So the idea is very similar to the teaching plans. I can either auto-create it from a document, I can upload a syllabus, I can upload my materials, or I can create a course manually. And it's basically going to take those materials and it's going to extract the modules, all the objectives, and all of the components for that course. So this will probably look familiar to a lot of you, the Guidebook for New Canadian Forces Instructors. I've uploaded this. Again, it's extracted those modules and those objectives. I've already done it in that case, but then the next step or the idea would be for each step to upload learning materials to support each one of those stages or objectives. And then from there, it's actually going to create learning materials for those students. So the idea is very similar, that we always give you editing capabilities. I can come in here at any point. I can edit titles. I can edit content. I can, like I've done here, it's a bit of a blurry photo, but I can embed, YouTube videos. I can embed images, either from URL or from files, as well as I can edit any of the actual content itself. A few other things I can do, I can drag and drop. I can reorder any of this. We've got this little cool view on the left for a flow. So if I wanted to kind of get a bird's eye view of the course, I can drag this around. And I can basically just get a bird's eye view of what's going on as I design this course. So the idea would be is that I go through each one of these modules, it pulls that from my materials. We obviously want the human touch, so I come through here and I review all of this. And then once I've gone through, I scroll down and I can mark this module as reviewed. And then once I've gone through the full course, that's when I can choose to publish it for my learners. Now, a couple other things we can do is that once I've created this, I can also generate assessments and quizzes and embed them throughout that course as I see fit. Right now, the assessments and quizzes are pretty similar. We are going to be creating, more in-depth assessment types, but for right now, take it with a grain of salt. We are building on top of this, but I can either generate these quizzes or assessments from this module content, or I can upload additional files and extract from those files. And then I can choose like, hey, I want this many, multiple choice, fill in the blank, short answer, so on and so forth. And it'll embed that quiz or assessment where I see fit. Now from there, I can also create rules, so I can do a maximum number of attempts. Do I want to show the answer? What's the pass grade requirement? What's the start time and end time, as well as allow skip. So if I wanted to say, hey, if you get 95% on module one, maybe we skip you to module three because that might assume that you are an expert in module two as well. So lots that we can do with this. The idea with these courses is that they are self-directed to a certain extent. I can go through the readings on my own pace. But if you wanted to have milestones throughout that course where it's like, hey, by this date, I want everyone to be on the same page and come together and we'll do this quiz, we can do that as well. And then from there, if I wanted to add to this, I can create new sections, new modules, so on and so forth. As always, I can have my chat open. So as I'm going through this, as I'm refining it, I can talk to this bot as well. Now I'm going to go to one that's been complete and I've published it and I've gone through it with a few students. And then we can see full reporting on this course as well. So this is where you can see a bird's eye view of what's the average progress for each individual learner. I can click through and see how they've done on the assessments. They've had one attempt. Here's the report. Here's what they got right. Here's what they got wrong. And it's going to distill all of this up into a sentiment analysis as well. So you'll see the sentiment analysis throughout our entire platform. We can do it at the course level like you see here, where it says things like, hey, out of 3 students, one's falling behind, average progress is this, you have one student at risk, so on and so forth. But we can do sentiment analysis in much more detail as well, where we can do it again at the bot level. We can do it at an entire portal level if you wanted to see it across all of your courses or maybe just for a specific course. We can now run this sentiment analysis and say, hey, maybe I want to pull for keywords. Maybe I want to do it just between certain dates, but it's going to say like, hey, here's what the students are saying, and here's what they're struggling. It's going to be things like not only like, hey, here's what they're getting right and wrong, but it's going to say like, hey, some of your learners seem stressed out. Some of them have mentioned they don't feel like there's enough time for this one specific module. So it'll give you full insight into how the AI is being used. So again, it really just helps you use your time more effectively. It helps you maybe be more informed moving forward of how you want to design those courses, but you'll just have full insight into the course and where they're struggling and how it's being used. So maybe I'll take a break there, just make sure I didn't miss anything. We've got the sentiment analysis, we've got the courses. The idea with these courses is that it kind of creates a lightweight tool for you to create them and embed them wherever you like. So you could create them and use them, within your own units. You could create these and we can embed them within all the major LMS. So if you are partnered with an institution, take these courses, embed it in like a Moodle or a D2L, whatever you like. Okay, a few minutes left here. So let's focus on kind of what's coming down the pipe here. There's a lot that we're working on. I'll only touch on a couple of these items for right now, just because they're ready and I can actually show you something, but there is a lot more that we're working on, and that starts with our web app creation. So if you are familiar with AI, creating web apps is essentially the idea of, sorry, I just saw the chat there. The idea that you can basically create these apps and this code just based off of a simple prompt. So you'll see in this example, I said, please create a web app that provides a flight simulator cockpit with a graphical view. This is a very simple example, so take it with a grain of salt. We can make it look much more detailed and much more accurate than this. But this was just a simple prompt, and it created this within just a couple of minutes here. So it'll also give you all of the code. So if you are savvy with code, you could take this, you could add to it, you can make it your own, whatever you like. But the idea is that in this case here, and really the opportunities are endless. This was just one example, but this is just showing the power of AI that through a prompt, through someone who might, maybe an instructional designer that isn't a full, engineer or coder, can create these interactive elements that we can then marry back with that guided course that I just showed you. So I'll show you a really, really quick video here just so you can see it in action. But again, this was only created in a couple of minutes. All of these dials are fully working. So as I'm moving them around, you can see, how it's actually affecting, the dashboard up here with a full description on the right-hand side. So again, basic example, but the idea will be to marry all these concepts together where we can now create full courses for you embedded with multimedia and assessments. We can create interactive elements such as this dashboard or maybe, role plays with those avatars that I showed you. We can embed those into the course. And then we can create these teaching plans based off that, QS, PO, EO framework to save everybody time and to have it all be aligned, all the while giving your team the ability to sit back, view the dashboards, see all the usage data, as well as see the full sentiment analysis on how this is being used, just so that everyone's time is being used more efficiently, I guess. So that's coming down the pipeline. This is early, but it is working right now. So if you did want to get set up with a sandbox, you could play around with this as it is. And I think the only other thing that I'll touch on for right now, which I won't be able to show you, but I'll speak to it, is the next step. What we've already started working on this. It's just not where we need it to be for today's presentation, but the ability to take all of that and generate other learning material, teaching materials from that. So slide decks and case studies are the initial ones. Taking those teaching plans, taking those courses, and generating, slide decks from those materials. And that's it for me. I know I went through that fairly quickly. Sorry if I rushed through that. If you do have questions, happy to address those. And again, like I mentioned, if you do want to start playing around with this and get your feet wet, feel free to reach out to Captain Ransom and we can set you up with a sandbox.
Hey, Joe, thanks. That was great, actually. And we do have a couple of questions already. I know Zach
Yeah.
has done a couple of answers in the chat, but just if we could throw a couple to you.
Yeah.
If you wanted to create a course, what's a realistic learning time to design a course, and what are the methods for training it? So if we could just go through that.
So methods for training is that we would work with you and we'll, especially for the first few times you're creating a course, we can sit down with you one-on-one and help you upload and see the outputs. I would say the time itself is not long. Like for me to upload my materials and for it to actually extract the modules and the teaching points and all of that, that can be done in 5 or 10 minutes. The time is really sunk into it after the fact of, iterating upon that, seeing if it matches, how you want the course to be taught. But from our end, in terms of actually generating those materials, it can be done, within a few minutes. Does that answer
Yeah,
your question? Is that what you meant?
is that an answer? And it appears to be. So next
Perfect.
question. All the elements of the QSTP and QSP are entered into the program. Would it be possible to export the properly formatted document? And if
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah.
how much would it train the AI or customize the export file correctly? And then the last part of the question, sorry, can it
Yeah.
export in both PDF and Word?
I was going to show you, but maybe I'll just answer you. Yes, PDF,
Okay.
absolutely. We found that it's very accurate as of right now, but again, I know that each unit of the D&D is quite different, so that would be part of the working group that we would have with you, is that you could tell us exactly the format that you'd like, and we could get that output aligned with that. So PDF, absolutely. We could do Word. I don't know if we have it in the platform as it is right now, but that's a very easy add for us.
Okay. I think this might be a question. I'm going to probably direct this to Captain Ransom. Uh, does Quad C have the ability to be used on a level 2 or 3 system, or is it solely unclassified?
Let me take that offline. My gut says yes, but I'll need to confirm with that just because I know we're exploring a few different. I think the short answer would be that we're able to. Maybe you go ahead, Captain Ransom.
No, you were on the right track. So I want to say yes, but I can't currently confirm that where there's a bit of nuance to that question. We are working towards certainly facilitating that, and I think I can give you an 80% solution of yes. Currently, we're very much in the trial phase, working on an experimental platform that is currently gaining a lot of leverage. So the more it gains, the more likely that yes, we will put actions like that into play. So I know that is a word salad, but Leaning towards a yes, but I cannot fully confirm that.
Just want to add, so it's Bill Railer here. Quadc can be brought in internally, and we could leverage large language models like Cohere that are being put in place at that level. So work is being done in that area, but the answer is not yes yet. Okay, working towards it. The current answer is no. We're currently on class.
Okay. Just related to that, where does the data reside? Where do the LLMs process the data for Quadc?
Good question. So we actually use, for those of you familiar, we use stateless prompts. So all of this is done within a walled garden. You retain all of this data. We don't share that with the LLM providers. We share the base level of data needed in vectorized format. So we never share, original documents. And then we've also written it into our contracts with them that they cannot store anything we send them, nor train their models with that data. So short answer is done within a walled garden. It's all of your data. The data we do collect will be like the sentiment analysis, like I mentioned, but each prompt or each chat is net new as a stateless prompt. So it's not gonna learn you over time like a personal ChatGPT account would. It's a little bit different than that for security purposes.
Next question, and this is probably for the C-ADL team, but we're wondering how does this distinguished from TED-MS, and are there possible connections between the TED-MS system and the Quadc system?
I can take that one. Can you just repeat that, Steve?
Oh, sorry. So what distinguishes Quadc from TED-MS? And
Okay,
are there possible connections between the TED-MS system and the Quadc system?
absolutely. So I can absolutely answer that. So TED-MS, Training Education and Management System, that is another application. That is an application being developed and sponsored by C-ADL. And what that is primarily for is for creating your course control documents, your QS and TP from authorized sources from your specification right at the top. It's meant to facilitate and accommodate the board writing process and expedite it, which we have found does quite well. From there, ideally what you would do is once you have an authorized training course control document, QS and TP, that is what you would use to input data into Quadc. That's why one of the things we were very adamant about was the way it's been designed for the CDA component is that when Joe had shown performance objective, enabling objective, and then teaching points, any user can go in and you're not making it up as you go. You have the TP on one screen. You open up your teaching point table, and every time that you wish to create a lesson plan associated with that teaching plan using Quadc, and with all the wonderful resources Joe has shown, such as like the guided course and the potential to create questions and quizzes and web apps and what have you, you're pulling that directly from a source of truth, which should be contained in your authorized training plan. So the process itself is very well mapped out if you use the applications the way they're meant to be used. Does that answer the question?
Just want to add, the goal is to integrate TED-MS, so your TP will feed directly into Quadc this year. So that's work the team is looking at right now. So by the end of the year, you'd have the ability to automatically populate into Quadc, generate your content, and move at a much more rapid pace. From there, we'd like to see Quadc integrated and be able to feed directly into the Defense Learning Network.
Okay, we have another quick statement from the from Captain Ransom. This is for responding to Lieutenant Commander Whitaker. Is there a 1 or 2 page handout that you can provide to the chain of command about this with its features and things? Zach has very kindly volunteered to create one of those if he can. So if you need a 1 or 2 page handout to provide your chain of command, please contact Captain Ransom. And what kind of storage requirements is my next question? Would a standalone version of Quadc require?
So that one I might have to take offline.
Yep.
I have an idea, but Lieutenant Commander Whitaker, I believe it was. Let me follow up with you on that, or maybe I'll relay that to Zach. I just want to make sure I get a good answer for you on that, but not 100% sure.
And Bill, you still have your hand up. You still have another question?
Oh, that's my bad. Sorry, Stephen.
Oh, that's okay. I have a quick question regarding the avatars. What level of customization do we have? Can we change, for instance, I mean, most usefully would for us to put them in uniforms.
Yes, absolutely. That's something we could absolutely explore. We're at the point right now where we've only done the few kind of for demonstration purposes, but we can do very realistic avatars like the one you've seen. And if you did want something with uniforms, we could get that done as well.
Like, that's
We
great.
don't
And
currently have it in today's version, but we could explore that absolutely.
okay, so but customization of the avatars would go through Quadc as opposed to us just taking pictures and using them.
As it is right now, yes. Again, if you did want to give, yeah, maybe 3 to 4 options and sort of limited customizability, that's probably something we could do. As now, go through our team, but our engineering team is awesome. If you did want to give, the user some customizability, we could figure that out as well.
Okay, that's great, Joe. Are there any more questions? If so, go ahead and put up your hand or put them in the chat. Okay, another question. What are the basic financial costs for units to access Quad C? Is there a general training cost to this? I'm not sure. This may go to Captain Ransom or to you, Joe.
I'll pass maybe to Captain Ransom for part of this. I would say from our end, at least in the initial working stage in the working groups, like we're engaged, like I said, with the CAF Health Services as well as the Non-Commissioned Leadership College. If you wanted to get involved with us and just start playing around with it, and we could, figure out the best ways to support you, we could do that as it is right now with no cost to you. I believe that's the answer. Maybe Bill or Zach, I'll pass to you.
Zach
Um,
has kindly volunteered. He's actually put his email in the chat. So if anyone who has any requests for accounts or trailing other information that you need, go ahead and contact Zach. He is inundate him. I know he has an empty inbox, and he's always looking to talk to people. He's very lonely.
Yeah,
Okay,
empty inbox.
sorry, Zach.
Good one, Steve.
Okay.
No, but for sure, please do reach out to me. And to add on to that question, so currently the cost to trial, well, we are fronting the bill for that, and we would really appreciate feedback such that we can have a more effective trialing and create a better product at the end of the day. The work they've done thus far has been excellent, and we want to just keep that going. When it comes to actual contractual elements further down the line, that's the type of thing that if this were to be fully upscaled, we would discuss either on a CAF basis or a unit basis. It's the type of thing we'd have to engage with the company themselves and work that out. So I can't really provide a firm response on that at the time being. But it wouldn't break the bank.
Thanks, Zach. That's great. Okay. And are there any further questions? Okay. So thank you very much. That was great.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you.
fascinating software. And I am going to now turn things over to Nick Deslandis, who's the head of development at C-ADL, and he'll be introducing us to our development of Allo, which is an in-house language learning model. Okay, and welcome, Nick.
All right, perfect. Sorry, I'm trying to share my screen, fighting the good fight over here on the DWAN. Can everyone see the slide? Perfect.
Yeah, we got
okay,
it.
great. Appreciate it. So my name is Nicholas Deland. I'm the lead for the Learning Innovations team over at C-ADL. So not the only group that does development primarily on C-ADL, but one half. And kind of one of our responsibilities is looking at the new and innovative technologies that are coming in and looking at how we can leverage that for training and education. So on the onset of all this like big AI boom, we took a really good look at all of this and kind of C-ADL determined that we needed to kind of grow in this area. And this is where we expanded and have since developed a team dedicated to AI. And that falls under Aaron. But one of the projects that we're investigating that came in kind of earlier was how can we leverage AI for training French in general, so speaking French and language training. And this is one of the areas that I think is a big challenge for us within the CAF, and that's kind of one of the elements that we've are looking to explore. So the challenge for us as we look at language learning is the capacity for instructors to do speech training, the capacity and the availability. And as we look at the growth of the CAF, how are we going to kind of address this capacity even further, right? We've seen a lot of things coming out about language and language requirements, and we need to look at how not only do we have the people there to support, but what kind of technologies can we leverage to help support that growth. And one of the elements that we're looking at is the consistency of that access to and improving the language across the board. Not only the formal areas of language training, but the ability to have that informal training for those that are looking for that. So the application that we're going to be showing you is it's called Allo. It's artificial intelligence for language learning. The idea behind this is it's an exploratory application that we're developing to help with mainly spoken French in the ABC proficiency levels, but also has a bit of written French as well as kind of a secondary goal. And I'm not going to kind of sit here and talk too much or show slides too much. What we're going to do is we're going to demo the application. I'm going to pass it over to the lead developer on this project, which is Gianluca, and he can introduce himself, but he's the primary developer behind the application. We'll walk through what we have now. So bear in mind what we have now and what we've been developing. This isn't publicly out there yet. We're still in the development process and going through a lot of validation, working with the language programs on this application. Keeping in mind that this is again exploratory. We're looking at how we can leverage AI to help kind of alleviate these capacity issues. Over to you, Luca.
Can you just to confirm see my screen okay?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah. So my name is Luca Vendetti. So I'm the lead developer within the AI lab, currently where we build, design, integrate agentic systems, as well as explore emerging technologies to streamline complex workflows. Currently, as well as the lead on Allo, just to build off on what Nick talked about. So I'm going to walk through Allo, which is our AI-powered language practice tool. The goal is to help learners build confidence with real conversations. The app supports live spoken practice, and that's our main feature. As well, it provides detailed audio pronunciation review, as well as structured scenarios based on realistic workplace and CAF style situations. And that'll be text-to-text based. So I'll log in. So when a learner logs in for the first time, they're given the decision if they want to focus on their speaking and listening, as well as their reading and writing. We wanted to make the flow within navigating the app as simple as possible, and access the tools what you want to work on for that day, for your training. Before we begin, I do want to highlight a feature that's very critical to our app, which is our learner profile. So when you log in for the very first time with your ECN account, you'll be given an onboarding modal where you would go through that step by step to basically just set up your native language, your target language, the feedback language. That's would be like the feedback the AI provides and the language that you choose, as well as your target language would be the language that you want to learn. So in my instance, I want to learn French, as well as the proficiency level. So we have level X, which is no experience, as well as A, B, and C. And this is critical because this essentially is where we set the rules of engagement for the AI. So we define, like as I mentioned, native and target languages, but more importantly, we pass that user's proficiency level and feedback preferences directly into the model's context. So I'm getting a generic response. The AI will be immediately aware of where you are in your learning journey. So if you're a beginner, it won't overwhelm you with complex grammar. And that is something that specifically for my scenarios where I have no experience with French. A lot of the responses and from the AI, I couldn't even understand with the feedback because I don't have any experience working with French. So if you're advanced, it will provide like if you select C, it will be complex grammar. It will know to push you, for example. So it's about making the interaction feel personalized from the very first sentence. So I'll go into the speaking portion and I'll run through a live demo of how that works. So for our speech-to-speech live training call, this first section, I like to think of it as like joining a call with an AI language coach. So when I start the live session, the learner can speak naturally, just as it would be in a real conversation. The coach can listen, it will respond out loud, and it keeps the conversation moving. So the learner does not need to type anything. So the experience feels more like a real speaking assessment or a practice call. So on the screens here, we can see the live coach area, as well as microphone controls, the live transcript panel. The transcript captures what the learner says during the session. As the conversation continues, Allo can provide feedback on pronunciation and grammar. And this is useful because the learner gets more than just a conversation. They actually can get coaching. They can actually review. So I will run through that and explain how that works. As well, you can shift the transcript focus to an easier way to read the transcript. So I will begin.
Bonjour, ça va? Moi, je m'appelle Alex. Comment tu t'appelles?
Bonjour, je m'appelle Lucas. Je veux pratiquer mon français aujourd'hui.
Enchanté, Lucas. C'est super de vouloir pratiquer. Qu'est-ce que tu préfères faire? Parler de tes loisirs, de ton travail ou autre chose?
Je travaille avec mon équipe.
Ah, intéressant. Est-ce que ton équipe est sympa? Tu travailles sur quel projet en ce moment?
My session here, and I'll just explain what we see in the transcript. So we get that interaction between the AI agents for speech-to-speech, but as well we have speech-to-text here, as well as we get a few things happening at once. We actually get the pronunciation assessment, which I'll break down here, which provides me my overall, my accuracy, my fluency, as well as my completeness, as well as get the word-by-word pronunciation. And I can actually go into each word and look at the individual scoring of how I pronounce each word. And then if I click it, I can actually get some more details about the syllables as well as the phonemes. So for bonjour, I had the first phoneme a bit low, as well as the fifth I had quite low. Also very important to note that within English, we do actually see the IPA photonic alphabet. Currently for French Canadian, we don't have support actually seeing that visually. We are working with Microsoft to get that updated. But I can go into each word and just see specifically how I did. So I can see for mostly everything else, I did score quite high. As well as, so if I collapse that, I can go to review my grammar feedback. And I just get like another AI agent essentially just reviewing my feedback on that transcription and letting me know where I can improve, as well as where that could likely fit within my proficiency level as well. So I can collapse these. And then I can also just take a look at my next one here as well. So I can see with Equip, I had about 70% there. And I can see within the phonemes, I scored within the fourth, 72, as well as the fifth, 45. So now when my session ends, or when a learner decides to end the session, you're given like an overall session report card. And this is just a way for the learner to like overall see how they did. So when you have a lot longer of a session, for example, it can get kind of overwhelming to go through each transcription. This essentially just breaks it all down quite nicely so I can review my overall, my word breakdown, my strength, the priority focus, so like what words I should focus on. So specifically, let's let me know with Equip, it needs to, that was one specific word where I scored a bit lower, as well as like my strengths, as well as like the turns, how many words, stuff like that. And then I can go and actually see like my weakest words, for example, as well. And then I can also review like my lowest scoring turns. And then I can select like the transcript to just see overall those where that was in the transcript, as well as I can actually export this as a JSON file, so I can actually see the full detailed breakdown of all the metrics if I ever wanted to use that data specifically. Yeah, so that is how our speech-to-speech currently works. And at any time, I can actually access the session report at the end. So then I will be moving on to the real-time speaking experience. So this will be more of a tool focused on reviewing recorded audio. Perfect. So the next feature I want to highlight here is the audio review section. So this is designed for pronunciation assessment from an uploaded recording. So instead of me having to have like a live back and forth conversation, this lets a user, a learner, or an admin be able to upload a WAV file and get detailed analysis. The learner or evaluator can choose the assessment language, specifically right here, upload a file, preview the audio, and then run the pronunciation analysis. While the file is being processed, the app shows progress and a live transcript from telemetry, so that we can see that the audio is actually being analyzed. So I'll demo that. I have an audio clip here of a developer speaking a passage in French, and where we purposely had a few words mispronounced so it get picked up. Perfect. So once complete, the system produces aggregate scores such as accuracy, fluency, overall pronunciation, and as well English as well provides a bit more details, but with French, there is some details that does not support currently. The most useful part is the word level detail. So the transcription is essentially broken down word by word, and each word can be reviewed for pronunciation quality. So this helps identify exactly where the learner struggled instead of only giving one overall score. The results as well can be also exported as JSON for offline review or record keeping. So I can go again here, I can click each word and I can see individually. I can see restaurant here, but I can actually play the individual word or I can play the full sentence. So I'll just demo that.
Je veux aller au restaurant ce soir si c'est possible. Je veux manger de la nourriture italienne. J'aime bien le pasta.
And I can also look at the details too of each individual word, and I can review, play the word if I want to hear that as well.
Restaurant.
So this could be very useful when you have a very long passage you want to be assessed. Future iterations and implementations, we want to add like scripted assessment, where you can actually read along and let it follow you as well. So you can read like a short passage and then you can get real-time metrics based on that as well. So speech-to-speech helps with live conversation, and audio review helps with detailed analysis of recorded speech. The third section focuses on scenario-based practice. So that'll be within our reading and writing. So the scenario section is for structured scenarios. This is a text-based, so similar to a chat or a team-style conversation. Essentially gives learners a place to practice realistic situations. The learner starts by choosing a scenario module. Examples include requesting a scheduled change, explaining CAP enrollment, as well as describing an achievement or discussing work-life balance. Each scenario has the level, a short duration, and the role for the learner and the AI counterpart. So before the conversation begins, the learner sees a briefing. So I will detail that. So I can enter my module, and then the AI will generate the scenario. The learner will see a briefing, which is like almost like a character sheet, where the idea was it helps the learner follow if they're unsure where to begin. So it sets the stage almost. So who you are. So specifically, we're looking to request a schedule time change with your manager, who you're talking to, the scenario, and then how long this should take. This is turn-based as well. So we're able to actually set the turn and limit of how long we want these modules to be currently. So another thing happening as well is we actually have suggested responses. This is where I was explaining earlier about your feedback as well. So like if I didn't really know any French and I had suggested responses in French, I wouldn't really understand what they were saying. So that's just a powerful example of like having that AI feedback to be in English when you're learning a new language. It gives me an idea what to how I want to practice. So during the scenario, the AI stays in character as well, and it responds based on the situation. The learner types a response, and then after each turn, the system can provide coaching feedback. We have multiple agents working in the background. So one agent's like essentially generating the scenario. One agent will actually give you feedback and analysis on your grammar. And then we have a third agent that will give you the suggested responses. And just for this demo, I do have a couple sentences here that I'll use that I do have mistakes in. So that way we could just have an example of what that feedback in French gives us. So I have my feedback evaluated, and then I have as well as the suggested responses to follow up. But yeah, so I can just simply toggle the feedback if I want to see it. Otherwise, I can stay in the flow as well. But it gives me some critical feedback as well. It's letting me know if I'm within level X and level A. And then the AI does respond, as well as it gives me some more suggested responses. Since this is a turn base, I do have one turn. The turn highlighting is just at the bottom here where I can see that. I can, type my next message. And then a few things happens as well. So since this is the final turn, I do get my final feedback as well. But just like we have with the speech-to-speech portion, we also get a summary feedback as well as for text-to-text basis. So I'm able to click review feedback. Then it just gives me a bit of a detailed breakdown on the full recap of the session. So we were tracking like things like the turns, how much feedback you got. So we got 2 feedbacks from our agents, as well as the session time. And then I could review just the coach recap. So again, if turns were a bit longer, your feedback would probably definitely get overwhelming with a lot of stuff. So this is just a consolidated way to review all your feedback and important notes from the AI, as well as we get the turn feedback, the transcription as well for review. And that is mostly the full functionality of our application. So Allo essentially just gives learners many ways to practice, which is live training, builds real-time speaking and confidence, which many speech-to-speech models are just audio in, audio out, but we're trying to provide a proficiency, fluency breakdown and metrics on the words that are being pronounced to give learners feedback on how they're progressing. Audio review gives detailed pronunciation assessment from recordings. Scenarios help learners practice realistic conversations with feedback in a lower pressure environment. And so the overall goal is just help learners practice more often, get clearer feedback, and build confidence in the kinds of conversations that actually need to have. And that is all I have for today.
And so, Stephen, I'll hand it over to you to kind of moderate the questions, so I'm not just kind of picking random ones. And
yeah, they are already starting to pile up. So so hold on, we will get to you. There's quite a interesting discussion going on in the chat earlier on about the native language setting, and I think we've had some good discussion on it. But can I just quickly ask, what does it change about the experience if you choose English or French, and would you be limited if your native language was another language other than English or French?
So to address this, kind of we're not the business owners of this as we look at this, right? We're the developers and we're creating the product. And what we've identified as the primary focus, the number one focus for this is French. The ability for us to add other languages is a capability because of the models we're using. So although there isn't necessarily a limit in what we can expand into, for example, if there's other native languages that we want to address, we can absolutely have the potential of addressing that and adding that in. But as we look at like agile development mentality with this, is what is the primary most important element of this that we want to address, and we were told it's the French language spoken training, and then expanding from there. So to answer, no issues potentially adding other languages to support the feedback and all those elements. It's just having the business owner kind of decide, yes, that's where we would like to go next.
Okay. And we just have a question if it's currently available to the CAF, which I understand is still being trialed. So given that, what's the estimated rollout to the CAF and D&D? And when it is available, is there a place currently chosen for it to be available?
So that's still kind of part of the process that we're going through. So right now we're in what I would call the beta phase. So the core of the development is done, but a lot of it, there was a lot of interpretations that we made on our side as we went through the development process, and we're now working with the business owner and the client on this on evaluating the like accuracy, the feedback, and all those different elements to see is it proper, is it accurate, and is it misleading? Because that's one of the big elements that we're doing. So right now we're in a beta phase, and we do have the ability to give access in the beta phase, but I'm not going to jump on providing that to everyone quite yet until we kind of get a thumbs up from from our client on this. But we are going to be slow rolling some early access to this to get feedback, as we want as much as possible, with the understanding that it's a lot of this, the backbone of this is AI, right? So we don't want to mislead anyone. We want to make sure that the training's accurate and the feedback's good, right? So where we're going to access it, I see Bill's already jumping into to the comments, but yeah, we're looking at integrating this with CAF Campus or having linkages with CAF Campus and the CAF app so that it's easy to access and not hard to find. So hope that answers your question.
Just on that point, then we have someone else who is asking. They have several members who are looking to learn French, and they're wondering if you need anybody to help you trial the software. And if so, should they just contact you, Nick, or?
Yeah, absolutely. What we'll end up doing is putting together a list of people that are interested in trialing it and giving feedback. And once we've reached that point where we're ready to roll it out to a larger group to test it out, then we can send that out. Absolutely. Very excited at the prospect of having a variety of different people having access and trying it out, so we don't have kind of this narrow vision of feedback.
And then just a quick question: are there future plans to be able to grant actual official language qualification using the ALLO assessments, or would that even be a possibility for us?
So I'm going to say we probably won't see a realm where it's going to grant the qualifications, but what I very much see as a possibility is the step prior, so a confidence level that they are ready to reach the point and have that assessment made by a human, because a lot of these AI elements we need a human in the loop, at least in this current phase. So there could be a situation where the AI, you practice with the AI and the AI reaches a point where it says, yes, I think you are ready for an assessment, and then you go into an assessment with a human, and what that might do is lower the burden of reduce the amount of failure and lower the burden of the number of people that have to do that assessment, until there's some sort of confidence from the system. But again, this isn't like something that we're looking at right now, but this is very much, I don't see why we couldn't get to that point eventually.
And just asking, can custom scenarios be made using ALLO?
So currently not custom in the sense that you come in and you write the scenarios. We are changing the way that those scenarios are being made so that right now when you go into reading and writing, they're set to a current level, but we're looking at creating more of a dynamic system that it knows what level you're trying to learn. It presents scenarios to you. And I don't see why we couldn't necessarily expand down a realm where you can present scenarios to it, or we could have the ability to have a bank of scenarios. Again, the speaking and listening was the primary goal, so the reading and writing scenarios wasn't something we were addressing we're putting too much focus into right away. It was just an addition that we were asked to look into, and it's there. So I would say, yeah, why not, right? So.
And a question on the limitations of the system. Is the AI able to assess the relevance of the answers provided? For example, if the person didn't understand the question and replies something random, is the AI able to flag it?
So it's and I'm glad you saw that. That is something that I think we're going to be looking into as we continue this right now, because the AI just says, like, you could say something random, the AI is like, okay, and then continues the conversation. Like, it's a little confused. I think one of the elements that I would like to look at is, the relevance of the reply, and saying, okay, maybe you didn't quite understand what they were trying to say.
Okay. And if that answers all of your questions, are there any other questions for our speakers on anything so far? Oh, we're getting some thank yous from the audience, so we can probably wrap up there. And I want to thank everybody for coming and joining us. These are some really exciting technologies, and we can see that there would be some amazing possibilities for us using them in training. Our next speaker series will be within the next 2 weeks. This is, again, just our first. We'll be trying to have them every 2 weeks from now on. So we look forward to seeing you all in the future at one of our speaker sessions. And once again, have a great afternoon, and thank you very much.